Hello and welcome to Wild Wisdom podcast. My name is Chelsea Bess Marie, or Elsie for short.
And I am Madison Murphy Barney, but you can call me Ed. Together, we are the Cedar Siblings. We are two-spirit Indigenous folks who are endlessly interested in how we can apply the wisdom, creativity, and resilience of the natural world into our everyday lives.
We noticed that we spend a lot of time standing in two worlds as Indigenous people, as two-spirit people, and also as professionals. This constant switching can be challenging in the best of times, but even more so in this moment.
This podcast is one of our attempts to not only do less code switching, but to bring our worlds closer together and in a balanced way that invites listeners to learn from the natural world as we take on this group project of collective survival and liberation.
On each episode of this podcast, we focus on one species or relative and their characteristics that can offer us guidance during the tumultuous times we live in. This week, we will be learning from beavers.
Before we begin our discussion of beavers, we want to remind you that you can support our work by joining our Patreon at Cedar Siblings and Instagram at Wild Wisdom Pod. And we'd also love to hear from you via email at wildwisdompod@gmail.com.
All right. With that, we invite you to take a deep breath, take a moment to ground and cleanse, and away we go. Okay, beavers. We're both in a beaver mood this week. We're not quite sure what that means, but we're there. We're in it.
When you hear it, though, you're like, oh, yeah, same.
We are down with the beavers this week, as they say. The beavers are large, semi-aquatic rodents. Yes, they're rodents, known for their remarkable engineering skills. They are ecosystem engineers, building wild environments, complex systems of locks and all sorts of other things, profoundly shaping their environment through their dam building and tree felling activities. That's right, using those big chompers and that wonderful little tail. And we're going to take a little in-depth look at their behavior, the ecological importance that they play, and the lessons that they offer for us. So, beaver behavior. So, dam building is probably one of the things that comes top of mind for folks when thinking about beavers. So, beavers build dams to create ponds, which provide protection from predators and also stable environments for their lodges. Dams are constructed from branches, from mud, from stones, from whatever they can find, really, and can vary in size from small structures to really massive complexes. The lodge construction, they are built within the ponds created by their dams. These structures provide shelter for the beavers, a safe place for rearing their young, and also protection from predators. Lodges have underwater entrances generally, and they also have, that underwater entrance provides an added layer of security so that other kind of predators that are more land-based, terrain-based, don't have access to their lodges without having to take a little swim, take a little dive. So tree cutting, another fantastic little behavior of the beavers. You may have noticed the beautiful little front teeth of beavers. They gnaw on trees with these teeth to gather materials for dams and lodges and to access the inner bark and primary food source. So they are selective and often target trees like willows, aspens, and poplar. So they are not out here to mess around with any tree. They are selective. They have taste. Okay, and they have honed it. They are also foragers and do a lot of food storage. So think cousin to the squirrels and the chipmunks. Beavers are herbivores, so mostly chomping on plants and trees and those types of things. Feeding on tree bark mostly. Aquatic vegetation, and other plant material. They store food underwater, surprise, surprise, near their lodges to ensure a winter food supply when the ponds freeze over. They're also, you may have noticed, if anyone has ever had an encounter with a beaver, they're wildly territorial. So growing up, I was in a really small town. We had field parties, sometimes down by the river. And let me tell you, it was always the beaver that broke up the party at the river.
Only in North Dakota and Oklahoma are we having field parties.
That's right. That's right. And river parties, riverbank parties
Gotta
until the
party by the
beavers
river.
arrive. That's
Gotta
right.
drink Four Loko by the river. Because you're
Absolutely.
15 and a half.
There's no other place. That's right. So beavers mark their territories with scent mounds created from mud and secretions from their castor glands to deter other beavers. And what is not mentioned in the fun facts, but that is true, is they will chase you all the way down the bank, and you better not let them catch you because, similarly to what probably others have heard growing up, they will chomp right through your femur and not miss a beat. So definitely
Yeah, if they
stay
can
away
take
from
down
them.
a tree trunk, your leg isn't even a sapling.
You don't stand a chance, right? Not one. So, but they're family oriented and they are very loving, nurturing little rodents. They live in family units. They're called colonies, which I don't love, but here we are. And they typically consist of monogamous pairs and their offsprings. They're just, living in a little nuclear family here in their colonies. And then their family also cooperates in building and maintaining all of the different architecture as well. So dams, lodges, participating in kind of the foraging and food storage too. They also have a lot of contributions to adaptation, or they are really good at adaptation, rather environmental adaptation. So they modify their surroundings to best suit their needs, and they often transform landscapes pretty significantly. So, again, thinking about just damming off an entire river or space to convert that and make it into a separate pond, and how that changes the movement of the water, it changes the movement of all of the different kind of sediment and things that are in the river as well over time, that can really change landscapes. I'm thinking of just as a little anecdote, I visited, we have an elder that we call Aki Ren, and I visited her last year and we built a sweat lodge. And as part of that, we were searching around for all of our hundreds of saplings to construct the sweat lodge. She's got a lot of land and has some beautiful little ponds and things like that. And they have changed shape dramatically over the years because of small little displacements of, trees or of some sediment or different things. And so she says that you never know what the river is actually going to look like year to year because it changes so wildly in shape and kind of where it goes and where it meanders and things like that. So, and that's without a beaver's help. So just thinking about what wild shapes and changes can happen with a little bit of a dam to help that. Okay, so importance of beavers to the environment and the ecosystem. There are many. The first one is wetland creation. So beavers' dams create wetlands, which are critical habitats for lots and lots of species of plants, animals, and insects. If you've ever been in wetlands, you know that mosquitoes love them, and I try not to go there because they also love me. But just one example of some of the insects that rely on the beaver. These wetlands also act as carbon sinks, so they're also helping to kind of help to renew the environment and the air and help to mitigate climate crisis too. So who knew beavers were so important to helping us have clean air and to mitigating warming?
I actually had never considered that as something that they did. And often, like, I would say in terms of my least, like, I always think of the wetlands sort of as like like I cognitively can understand they're important, but I'm generally just like, meh, whatever. But like, I didn't understand the carbon sink thing either. More of like a forest guy than a wetlands guy, but
Same,
yeah.
same here. It turns out though that wetlands are actually one of the biggest contributors to mitigating climate change. So maybe at some
I
point,
always thought of them as like a product of climate change almost. Like, like we're becoming more abundant because like of flooding and water changes and things, but did not know that they also were mitigators. So I just have a lot of forgiveness to pray for from the wetlands, and that will start today.
yes. Yeah. Well, it sounds like we have an EP coming sometime, someday. where we both ask for our forgiveness and show
Yeah.
our reparations work to the wetlands through featuring them
Lay
on the
down tobacco
podcast.
at every wetlands we pass.
Yes. So water regulation is another thing that they do. So dams slow down water flow. Again, if there's raging rivers, especially thinking recently about the stuff going on in the Carolinas and climate change drastically increasing the crisis events that are happening with water and mudslides and flooding and all of those things. Beavers are really, really important to helping slow down some of that water flow and reducing erosion, improving the groundwater recharge, and maintaining water levels during droughts. And so thank you, beavers, for all of that water regulation. They also help filter and purify the water by trapping sediment and pollutants. So
Wait, what?
yeah. So
That
because
also would
they're
not have crossed my mind.
trapping the little rocks and sand
Yeah.
stuff, water stays
Huh.
cleaner because there's less of that sediment that's getting dragged into the water source.
Right. That makes cognitively again makes sense, but something I never would have. If anything, I'd be like, wow, it's really mucking up the water. All these new like towns and villages being built in it, but no, it's filtering it.
Yeah. And the other
Yeah,
thing
nature
is,
smart.
I have seen lots of dams trapping lots of litter as
Yeah,
well. And
that makes sense.
so I'm always seeing like plastic jugs and other things like that are getting caught in the beaver dam that would have continued to like go downstream and
Mm-hmm.
cause, further problems and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And obviously it's not good to have them in the water, period, but,
Right.
adding a
Contained
little bit of block
rather than
there.
just roaming around. That's something I think about is like a huge tangent. So Vermont is has had flooding the last 2 summers on the same day each year. And like I have friends who lived in an apartment complex and the entire apartment complex went into the water and like rushed away with the river. And it's like, what? Where is all of that? Like on top of course, we're honoring like the devastation and what that means to lose everything, but like, where is all of that? In a beaver dam? Did beavers dam with it? Like maybe a little bit, probably.
Possibly. That's a great question. I feel like that's another hole we should jump down because
Right?
I
Do
had
beavers?
some of the same questions.
Right? Where is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Whole houses, whole apartment buildings. Where are they? Because
Yeah,
they're not where they rushed in. You know what I mean? Like it's not like oh, it just like moved a bit down. Like it's gone visibly.
yeah.
So like where is it? I don't know.
Questions for the parking lot. We're adding those there. Additional things that the beaver does for us is biodiversity support.
Mm,
So, beaver created habitats support lots of other relatives and diverse ecosystems, which benefit species such as fish, amphibians, birds, and mammals. We just did an episode on turtles. Obviously, they are avid sunbathers, and
mhm.
thank you, beavers, for creating logs for our turtle
Such good
relatives to
tanning
chill in.
spots. Yeah, such good tanning spots.
Their activities create environments that are essential for species like otters, herons, and dragonflies as well. So they are the little workers that keep on giving.
What if like a cute little crew that is? Like, like herons, beavers, otters, and dragonflies. Like what a darling team they've created.
Indeed. There's also, I learned some fun and disturbing facts about dragonflies in the last couple of months. And so
What
I'm
have you
trying
been
to
doing
keep
to
that
learn
as an
those things?
inside thought and not an outside thought right now. But maybe we'll circle back around to them at some point in time, but not today because it will
Today's not the
totally
day.
derail us.
Today we honor them.
Yeah, that's right. And also, I don't know if this is just me. It's probably just me, but I just envision beavers with like little hard hats on and
Hmm.
little like tool belts. They're a little construction crew, and yeah, now that I know that they also like group up in fams and do that, that's even more adorable. That there's multi-generational, like familial construction crews out
Right.
here just building community for folks.
Right. Yeah, and I think about it because like I'm one of 6 children and like were we beavers, like I can picture the job each one would have and like My brother Jack, like, obviously didn't contribute, but got the best bedroom. Like, if you think about it like that, you're just like, it makes it so personal, and like them just like sussing out like who gets to be where in this like beautifully built dam, and like who's the freeloader. And yeah, I love that. But there's like so much good gossiping that happens in the process of building those environments.
They also provide flood control. So I
Yeah.
mentioned this a little bit already, but by slowing the water flow, beaver dams mitigate downstream flooding during heavy rains or snow melt. And, you know, that's hard work. And they play hard too later with the gossip, I'm sure, and
Hmm.
their other little crew of otters and herons and dragonflies.
It also just shocks me that they only eat the plants that are like around them, because like if I were doing that amount of work all day every day, I would need so much sustenance and like like really good meals, and they're just like they're fine with what's there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even get a burger at the end of their day of building their dope houses.
I would need protein for sure.
Yeah.
They create riparian habitat enhancements. So beavers promote healthy riparian zones, improving vegetation diversity and stabilizing stream banks. So riparian, it often refers to like where the water meets up to the bank and
Mm.
like the bank area. And so, yeah, like similar to what we talked about with cedars and some of those other relatives, like they can really help to make sure that the vegetation in that area is doing what it's supposed to do to kind of like maintain the bank and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. They also are contributors to climate resilience for the reasons we already mentioned, but also that beaver created ponds and wetlands store water,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps ecosystems endure droughts and make them more resilient to climate change. So if the water is kind of like being stored and staying in one area, then it's less likely to be moving away, and it's still there for when the fish and all of the other little relatives and folk need it,
Hmm.
and also for human folk as well. And then the last piece is that they contribute to nutrient cycling. So beaver activity helps redistribute nutrients throughout the ecosystems, enriching soils and supporting plant growth. So their work is delicious and nutritious.
Damn. Wow, there's nothing to not thank them for.
I know. And also, I love the pun that you probably unintentionally slid in just now.
Yeah, my damn, that is one of my favorite words.
Okay, so finally, we're here for our lessons that we can learn from beavers, followed by some of the cultural significance that they
Mm-hmm.
bring to us. So they engineer solutions. So beavers alter their environment thoroughly and effectively, showing the value of designing systems that address immediate and long term needs. And so we can learn from that a whole lot of things, being really intentional with the environments that we create. I see this a lot in nonprofits where folks had this passion to start a thing, and then like well-meaning folks with that passion came together to like launch this organization and have been building and piecemealing and putting things together for so long, and then like get to this space in their development where they're like, none of this is working and all of these things are like, we need so much and we don't know what to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a big thing that I see as a lesson that beavers can impart to us, is being really intentional with that design and build of things.
And understanding the ripple effects of them. Like, while we want to create change in some areas, understanding that there are intended and unintended consequences of that, and that, like, just deciding to gather and put down wherever you want to, like, that has full ecosystem like implications. And while you can't predict all of them, just knowing that like the ripple effects of your actions can either like benefit the full environment, be it like natural environment or just like social cultural environment, or can just like flood it, like just understanding that like it takes intentionality, and you have to know what you're doing, and that there are repercussions to every change in a flow of things.
Yeah. And I think that's something that beavers do really well, is like they're contributing to so many things. and they're working in real harmony with a lot of other kind of like natural processes and ecosystems and things like that. Another thing that we can learn from them is buy local. You mentioned this earlier a little bit already, but beavers are folks who use their available materials and resources around them to build complex structures. They employ a whole lot of ingenuity and resourcefulness in what they use and how they use it, and they're really great at maximizing kind of the utility of local and sustainable resources in doing that problem solving. And listen, y'all, while I love me a good, I don't know, imported item or something that's shipped from another place, that has such a huge impact on our environment for so many reasons. And on, assuming it's a food item, for instance, like it doesn't always have the nutrients that you need because you need things from your natural in your local environment. It takes a really long time to get to us and doesn't have the same nutritional value as maybe it would have if we would have picked it and had it that day or it came from down the road. The impact of the transport contributes massively to global warming and to climate change. And so this is a huge learning for all of us to take from the beavers. It are just buy local and use local, and as much as possible really dig into what is around you, be really resourceful and not constantly thinking we have to do the capitalism dance, the consumer dance of buy, 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 buy.
Yeah, I'm like fascinated more and more, especially since moving to Vermont, which is like basically becoming a stereotype of myself living here, and like kitchen medicine and like all of the things just like in the kitchen and around, and like distilling vinegars and like making fire cider and all these things. But I went to one kitchen medicine class about like skincare things, and the teacher is like, I love her work. And she was talking about how we like it can be so easy, especially in skincare, to be like, oh, I need like the most like far flung thing and like the newest thing, but that like creating oils and like cedar infused oils from like oil that was like, like she used sunflower seed oil that had been like harvested like really nearby and like cold pressed, and my skin is so happy. Like I think there's a difference, right? Like when we eat food from like a farm stand or things like that, like your body shows you in many ways like how lovely that feels to be nourished by what's around you, and how much is possible for like caring for ourselves and our loved ones through kitchen medicine. Also, like garden medicine is just fascinating, and it's like the things that your body reacts best to. And one other thing I'll say there is, I'm gonna like get some of the terminology wrong, but she was also talking about how our like food, when it comes from a far away like place, is often like shocked with radiation to like stop the like not development process, what's the word I'm looking for,
Decomposition
radiation,
process.
yeah. And that doesn't have to be disclosed, and it's also like not super well understood or studied. So there's just like food coming from far away is literally like has radiation in it, and we just like don't know that. And I was like, what do you mean? And everyone in the class was like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, okay, sorry, I didn't know this was common knowledge that we just have like zapped food coming in. And so it's another it's just like the things that are going to be healthiest are the things that are closest to us, for ourselves and for the planet, but like really also for our own bodies. And then I also took this class on like trauma informed and like somatic nutrition. And one thing that they taught in that class is that like if you're going to eat fruits, like eat fruits that go around you, because your body knows how to use that sugar. But like if I'm eating mangoes and like granted, I eat so many dried mangoes from our co-op, but like if I'm eating mangoes in a Vermont winter, like my body doesn't know how to use that. Like those that has been like, it grows tropical, it's meant to be eaten tropical and like sweat out in like 90% humidity, which is why I ate mangoes nonstop when I lived in Malaysia, but like could chill on it now. And so yeah, it's just those things that like seem common sense, and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard, like that makes more sense for health. But then when you really like go one level deeper, and it's like, oh no, like actually truly that's what your body wants. It's not just like a nice to have. It's like your body's asking you like to like build up the microbiome and the nourishment and the nutrients from things that like are nearby you at any given time. And so in this way we will become beavers.
In this way.
In this way and many others.
I totally had a thought whenever you were talking, and it's completely gone. So maybe it will come back around. I got distracted by the mangoes, I'm sure, because I also love to pound dried and not dried mangoes.
Yeah, they're perfect. They're perfect food. Perfect fruit.
Yeah, yeah. So they also are really good teachers of kind of what you talked about before, of this idea of working together, communal work and shared work and teamwork, shared responsibilities. And I think whether you're doing that with an actual family unit or a community unit or a found family, built family, I think it's really, really important to kind of like going back to one of our other episodes, you learn so much about and with people when you are doing shared work together. Like that's when you learn the most about who people are and, the teachings that you can learn from them and the teachings that come through that relationship and responsibility and that shared toiling and putting your hands in the soil. So I think that's a really big thing that we can do more of in this really individualistic society that really pushes us to have individualistic goals and products and those types of things, that kind of those bonds are really important.
Yeah, I mean, like, I go on and on and on about this, but like the quality of our life is like completely and utterly tied to the quality of our connections, like our connections to ourselves, our connections to others, our connection to the planet, our connection to awe. And like that's like, they are without connection, like we just like we don't have the quality of life whatsoever. And so being in the work with people is such an interesting part of connection, because it's like connection through movement and connection through like shared values. And I think when we connect over like a shared purpose, it can be a lot easier to get less caught up in like personal I don't know, dislikings and things like that, because it's like, okay, but we have this like common shared good, like a family of beavers has, like, they have this common shared project. And like when you have that and you're like rooted in that as your cause for being together, it's so much easier to work in tandem and feel connected with people. And yeah, and like I just like, even if you've never been chased at a field party by a beaver, like that they give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like there's something in their constitution, like no one would ever be like, oh yeah, beavers, they don't care. Like they clearly in their constitution care so much. And so I think there's also that element of it is like, when we are collectively like working in that way and doing a project together, like we get taken and seen seriously as like, watch out, like here they come, like they're solid, their structures are solid. And so like in that way we can like be a family of beavers of just like, you kind of want people to be like, they care, watch out, like don't get on the wrong side of them. Like that is exactly how you want to be perceived. And like if you get in the way, like if you are a tree in the way, like you'll be taken down. Like if you're gonna stand in the like way of progress, you will be built into the progress by the beaver family. And like there's just no time for you to be in the way of it. And I actually kind of sort of love that, the idea of like everything standing in the way is just a tree that can be built into a dam. Like, hell yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So I have a fun little anecdote to share that kind of reminds me of what you're talking about with this like beaver mentality. So I don't talk about it a lot. I was an elected official and I did a lot of work around trying to bring together in a very conservative space and state, kind of connecting bipartisan, bicameral AFAB legislators together and helping to kind of form common values, common language that we could connect and kind of work together to solve some of the challenges and problems that were facing all of us, regardless of kind of our political leanings. And oftentimes like shared legislation would come out of that. And there, were some groups of really savvy folks that were able to pass some legislation out of that, who knew what they were doing, who were like the ones working together to take those trees down. And I had lots of really funny kind of interactions and anecdotes where there would be kind of a group of us walking kind of down one of the Capitol halls, and just the kind of reactions and like, oh, we better get out of their way kind of things
Mm-hmm.
that would happen as we're just this group of baddies walking down the hall that have figured out the value of kind of working as that unit, and being able to put aside some of the things that, as you're talking about, we don't align on because we have this shared set of purpose and vision for some work that does need to get done. Yeah, people do like get out of the way
Yeah.
oftentimes.
So what you're trying to say is you were at one time one of these families building a dam in the government. That doesn't surprise me at all. But yeah, I think especially now, like so much is on the table, so much is on the line. Like you want people to be a little scared, and you also like want to entrust the work with people who are going to do it, and like there's just no time for anything else. Like we just don't have time to just be like anything but a beaver. And I like there's something also right about like they slap their tails and like to get like to call attention and to just be like, yo, this is how we're doing it, and like putting their foot down, but in like a very loud way. But it's like, yeah, it feels a little bit like the call of our times, just to like embody that energy of just like there is so much shit to do. It is our job to do it. And like if you are not down for doing it, get out of the way or we'll get you out of the way and make you a part of the process in ways like you might not be that down with. So either you define your role in this movement or we'll define it for you. But like we are coming.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
all coming together, but we are all on
We
our
are
way.
coming. Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning, like, like the fact that you, as an elected official in the context in which you were elected in, were able to get things that felt dear to you through is like, that's huge, and it's only done through that. And I know you sort of mentioned it, but it's just like, especially thinking of the context and of being in an Indigenous elected official, like that is like, had you yourself been trying to push those things forward, I imagine you'd have just been met with like steamrollers. And instead, you were like, had your hard hats on as the family of Beavers, and we're like, no, 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 we got.
I mean, there were certainly things that I was able to push through on my own, but it was only because I recognized the community that I needed to build, like the
Mm-hmm.
community of values in
Mm-hmm.
other folks that I needed to build. So yeah, like nothing can be done alone.
No.
I love that quote that is like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go like far, go together. And I think
Yeah.
that's really true. And the
And
Beavers.
that can be so hard for me because I'm just like, I could do this. Like, just like, let me do this. Like, I could do this faster. But faster isn't always better. I mean, like, I imagine a hastily built dam wouldn't quite withstand like floodwaters. So I have a lot to learn in that. Like, I, um, I really like thrive at community building even as an adult, like even like out of, like I just it's something that comes very naturally for me and like building connection. But in the workplace, I just always want to be like a team of one, party of one, like let me do this. But in like movement building, want to go together. So it's interesting. But there is like the way that my brain is most colonized is like in the workplace of just being like, oh, let me do this.
Yeah. Do you think that has anything to do with the fact that, like, when you're in movement building, you're often amongst folks that you're more aligned with, like socially, emotionally, and there's a desire to be connected and to go together? But in workspaces, you're more often in environments where you have less values alignment, and like, it's more of a like traditional white supremacy culture dominant kind of um, environment, and it feels like more protective or better to
Mm-hmm.
do those things alone.
Yeah, I think so. And like, yeah, like there's a chunk of me like turned off all day in my traditional job. And it's actually really funny because like I have a supervisor who does like likes that phrase that a lot of nonprofit supervisors like of like thank you for bringing your whole self to work, and it's like I could never. Like I would not have this job. What do you mean? Like it's basically illegal for many people to bring their whole selves to work. And so that is an interesting part of it. That yeah, but like when it comes to like community and movement building and resilience building, a bit of both. Like I feel like I like can really draw on the strengths of like being a like career person, and then also like leave some of those parts behind that just like fundamentally can't come with me to my day job. And like I don't even know if I feel sad about that. Like I almost feel like I wouldn't want to. Like I wouldn't want to fully put myself into my day job work that I do to like the other work that I do in the community building work and like the doula work. Like if I had to put as much into my day job as I do to being people's doulas, like I could only work like 2 days a week, you know? And I just think that there's some like systems that don't deserve all of the things that we have to like do and offer. And I'm pretty careful about when I like turn that on and off, and I feel fine about it. Like I don't feel like it's like this, like I don't feel like I'm being robbed of anything or that I'm robbing anyone of everything. I feel like I'm putting the right amount of energy into the things that like quote unquote deserve it.
Yeah, I love that framing and absolutely agree. And I think that is one way that we step away from productivity culture and urgency culture and like overachievement and overwork and all of those things is that like for lots of folks, your like best maximum effort isn't deserved and is also like some other your bare minimum in some cases is other folks's like best, if you will,
Right.
like in terms of what people contribute to things. And so like a lot of folks feel like they have to give everything and like constantly work themselves into a pulp in these systems that don't deserve that. And um, yeah, like I feel like I'm going to endorse not giving
Yeah.
100% of yourself to those spaces. And for a lot of people, that's not, like you mentioned, it's not safe. It's not safe to do that.
No. And it's also like, yeah, and it's not self abandonment, it's self protection. Like, know thyself, know what to give in each place, and then like do that accordingly so that you have like elements of your life where you do have energy to give it. Because if you're giving it all, like, the thing is, and nothing, I've been taught this so clearly this year by the organization I work for, like, organizations do not care about you. They will tell you that they do this, that you like, you are not indispensable. Like, they just do not care. And so, like, I don't know, act accordingly in return.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, yeah, there's no shame to it. And it's in fact protecting yourself to make sure that you have energy for the things we need to do, like survive the end of the world. I don't know.
Yes. And related, jumping back into these lessons from Beavers, we learn a lot of things about sustainability from Beavers. And I'm going to just share, I'm jumping into culture here a little bit, but my elders have always instilled in me that I should always leave a space better than I found it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think beavers are champions of this lesson in that pretty much all of their activities enhance ecosystems rather than deplete them. Like they are
Mm-hmm.
always showing up to make improvements and take less than what they're giving and really showcasing like this model of sustainable living and symbiotic living and like centering kind of this thing that's larger than them in the work that they do. And I love that about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think that that's one of those like beautiful lessons that is like on a daily small scale to like the largest scale. Like from the, like you go to a friend's house, you bring flowers and like the place smells and looks better before you were there, you know, than before you're there, to the like, what is my legacy? And that's something I think a lot about too. And I write a lot about too, is like we are like right now in our lives, like, okay, I'm 30 is when I need to start thinking about what type of elder I want to be, because like growing old doesn't make you an elder. Like what kind of like, how can I make sure that like right now my shit is like all sorted out and good, so that like I am an elder that can be relied upon and can give to my community, and then also like I have a legacy. And so it's like thinking about that now, rather than just like showing up to it and being like, well, I hope I did everything right. It's like, no, the intentionality of like how I want the end of my life to be and how I want to be able to give to my community at that time informs all the actions I take now, so that I'm not just like only in need of support as an elder, but can also like offer it.
Yeah. I often think about this concept of like leaving it in a better place than you found it and just these micro interactions of like relationships that we develop with folks of also being part of that, I guess, legacy. I don't love the I've challenges with the concept of legacy for lots of different reasons. That I think that concept has been colonized in lots of ways and maladapted in lots of ways. But I think
Mm-hmm.
um, our ability to be able to recognize that we want to be a supportive elder, and I hope that you can hear my dog making crazy noises in the
Those are some
background.
wild sounds. They're just like blessing the message. They're like, yeah, preach, Chelsea.
They are praying
Mm-hmm.
apparently
Yeah.
into this little situation. Playing, they're actually playing, not praying. But in any event, I love the concept of kind of thinking about what type of elder you want to be, and what you want to be able to provide, and how. I think that's something really important for us to be thinking about, and something we also really learn from Beavers, because they do have this kind of like long term vision of right. They don't build dams in a day. It takes them a really long time. They have kind of end goals in mind of what benefit that they're looking to create or what they're hoping to build, and they build those structures that benefit them and others over time. And I think thinking about um, yeah, like what are we building right now and what are we building all the time,
Mm-hmm.
in both learning what we can to pass along, but also in like being the relatives that we want to be,
Mm-hmm.
now and in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by legacy, I don't mean like trust fund and my name on a bench. I mean like, like that.
I knew you didn't.
Right. But as we look at like the next 7 generations, that like the ripple effects of me being here are like cleaned up lineages, like that I'm passing on like clean energy, and like that I use the gifts that my ancestors worked so hard to pass on in a way that like ensures that the next generations also use theirs, and aren't just trying to like clean up some sort of like energetic or physical or financial mess that I created.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you to Beavers. I learned so much about wetlands. I literally have so much forgiveness to ask for. I knew that they had so much to offer, but I just like was really not on the wetlands train in the way that I am now. But thank you to Beavers, and thank you to you.
Yes, thank you. They're extraordinary examples of how small little actions can have large positive impacts, and I'm glad that we got to spend a little bit of time with them.
Me too. And we thank you for listening and look forward to exploring the teachings of another relative with you soon. In the meantime, take care.